So we're in Advanced Steel and we're using the GRAITEC stairs and railings, and we're taking a particular look at railings, and we're going to look at a railing end. So we have a tubular rail set up here within the system, and we've come to this part of the dialog here. So this sub tab here which says ending type, you'll see our tree structure dialog system here that's used, and we're actually going to focus upon the top handrail section here. So that's this element of the railing itself, and we're actually going to do at the very top level, not at the branch level. So if you were to go down into the start or the end, you can actually change this individually within those branches of the tree. But we're remaining at the top level to start off with, and we're just going to come into this drop down dialog here, and we're going to select loop. So when we select the loop, we can see that the ending has changed on the rail. It's now introduced a vertical section and a couple of bends in here. Well, obviously there's no parameters that you can see within this dialog. So what you need to do is just come over here and just pop over to the ending dialog here. And now you can see these are the parameters to control the alignment and the different options, etc., that you can do for a loop end type. The first one to really know is obviously connected to mid-rail at the top here. That means it will actually come round and return back and follow the line of your mid-rail. So depending on what measurement you set your mid-rail at is where this return will be determined. So if you do uncheck that, you can actually influence that dimension should you so wish. You can change that figure in here. So if I change that to 250, the railing will adjust on the end and the loop return will be different to the baluster post. So I'm just going to check that back again and just make it go back to my mid-rail location. Another important dimension to look here, as you look at the little dialog panel and the sketch here, is the length. Now you can see I've put a dimension on the screen. So this line represents the end of the rail here, and then we have this 200 dimension offset. And what that's going to do, that's going to translate into here, into this dialog. So if we actually change that to 0 in the dialog, you'll see it pop back to the original start point of the railing. So that was based upon its initial start point that we selected when we created it. And typically this is the system line. So the system line is placed in the middle of the sectional element used, and any measurements that work from the system line will work to the corresponding system line of the section being generated. So if we put the 200 back in, we can see it goes back over there. The other bit to look at is just to come back up here. You can see the loop type and the arrangement. So here the loop type is obviously a long slope. So if you were to change that to horizontal, you'll see that it introduces a different section here. So there's a different outline profile. So there's an extra loop been added in, a few extra bends and that, and we can see it comes around and returns back in here. And now we can see that this other field is available in here. So we can actually change that length in there, and it would actually change the length of this horizontal section. Similarly, if you didn't want to have an extension on the railing, you could actually put that back to 0, and the railing will pop up there. And then if you did actually want to extend this out to, say, a given measurement from the end of the stair, you could just do that and return it out. So you can end up quite quickly with what you need by just changing these figures in here. So we're going to do a combination of both just in this instance. I'm just going to put that to 200 as well and just drop that back down there just so you can see where it is. One of the other things I wanted to point out was also if we go back to a long slope here in this method. Now at the moment this is running vertically, and that's been controlled by this alignment here. If I change this to perpendicular, it will actually come back sort of square to the line of the staircase or the rail or the ramp, the line you set it out to. So it sort of returns the end back in here nice and square. So we're just going to put that back to vertical in this case. And obviously I'm just going to put that back into horizontal so you can see that again in there. Now the next bit is obviously quite important down here, is that you can see where this is obviously returning into the post. It's actually controlled in here. So that fit to the post is controlled by this one, fit to post. So you could do straight and it will cut it off square. Now that probably will come in as a default. Now obviously a lot of people would probably want to actually sort of shape that around the actual baluster post. So they could try using this option here, which actually pulls it round. And then there's another option here where you can just do a little cutback in the actual tube to give a little sort of room to get the weld round. So we sort of got that in place there, and the other element that we sort of haven't really looked at is actually the control of the radiuses. So this is actually the elements that are formed here. So and those are controlled in here. So you do have a drop down above that in this field here to set it to 1.5 times the diameter of the tube, or you can actually put a custom radius in to suit your bending machine. So if you obviously have a mandrel that you're using, you can actually adjust that in how and adjust all those to be to that figure. Obviously there's a weld detail in the bottom here, so that is actually the weld between these individual sort of pipe elements here. And finally, what you could also do is if you actually want to join all this together, there is a merge ending checkbox at the bottom. So by clicking that, you'll see that the railing has now become one piece. Now, obviously, we've been focused on the bottom of the rail, but as I mentioned at the start, this is actually forming one continuous rail now, poly rail up the stair with the loop on the other end. We do have options to split the rail as well, so you will be able to put a split in the rail. That's in another part of the dialogue and will be subject of another video at some point. So anyway, I hope that gives you a very quick insight to using a looped end for the GRAITEC stairs and railings, working with the railing tools. Thank you.